and thank you so much for joining. We are going to be providing important information about how to prepare for hurricanes during these difficult times with COVID. And my name is Andrea Venderi. I'm with the Hispanic Outreach Center. And we have with us, and we are very thankful to have with us panelists from different organizations. We have from Pinellas County Emergency Management, Mary Burrell. She's the whole community engagement program lead, and she will be talking to you about how to prepare for a hurricane. What is the county doing to get us all ready for this hurricane season? We also have with us from Duke Energy, Jared Sugby. He is Florida's Customer Connect team, and he will be talking to you about how to prepare and with safety, how to be safe during this hurricane season. So he'll be giving you some tips and what things you need to know and what things you need to have. And also he will be talking about some kits that the Duke Energy donated to the community to have to be ready for this season. And also we have from the Red Cross, Ella Landegier, and she will be talking about be prepared with COVID with the Red Cross. So welcome everybody. At the end of the presentation, we are going to have the opportunity to ask questions. You can ask the questions using your Q&A bottom of the screen, and the panelists will answer your questions. So again, thank you so much, and I'm going to leave with you from Pinellas County Emergency Manager.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We do have some activity in the Gulf and in our region. We were just talking about that. So doesn't look like it's going to affect us except for some rain, but it's always good for us to be reminded to be prepared. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
All right, I'm glad. I'm trying to get it from the as a slideshow. Okay, do you see it as a slideshow?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just gonna keep going with it then because it's not cooperating with me. We always seem to have some kind of technical difficulties when we do these things. So I'll just dive right in. Everything that we're doing this year for hurricane preparedness is through a COVID-19 lens. So most of the things that we're doing to prepare and everything that we have to think about and plan really is the same as it's been in the past, except now we simply have to have that COVID-19 element to our plan. So we have an extra layer basically of plans. So the things that we have to remember when we're doing anything with our planning is just always remember the social distancing, the sanitizing, and of course, the masks. When we started the season, we didn't know if we would have to even be wearing face coverings at this point. But as you know, things are not going so well out there. So we want to always make sure that no matter where you go or what you do, you have these items with you so that you can get around. Okay, so hurricanes. There's three things that you just need to remember is there's three risks. And once you understand these risks, then you're better able to figure out what you have to do. So there's storm surge, flood, and wind. The storm surge is what we have evacuation zones for. So if you're able to put in the chat, do we have chat open?
Yes.
Okay, great. So if you're able to put in the chat, if you know your evacuation zone, that'd be very helpful. Evacuation zones are based on storm surge. And what is storm surge? It is the water that from the Gulf that gets pushed on the land by the wind from a hurricane. And the amount of land that it goes over is how we call evacuations. So if we call an evacuation A, it means that that storm surge is forecast to go up to 11 feet. If we're calling A and B, like we did in Irma, it means that it can go up to 15 feet. So that's why we have to call those zones. So when you look up your zone, you know what risk you are in. Storm surge is very, very powerful, and we can't stress this enough. If you would imagine a fast-moving river that just rushes over the land, down your street, in your house, big storms, it has moved houses. It'll take trees, debris, cars. Imagine what it does to a person. The good thing about storm surge is we predict it way in advance of a storm, and we're able to call an evacuation. If you are in the zone that is being evacuated, that's based on a forecast, remember, we have a beginning time and an end time. The reason we have an end time is because that is when the dangerous winds will start. So when you evacuate, if you're told to, if you're ordered to, you get to your safe place by the end of the evacuation period. And then guess what? You don't have to worry about storm surge as far as your life goes, which is more important than your boats, than your houses, than your cars, than anything else. So that's a good thing about storm surge. Now with evacuations, we recommend that you go to friends or families that live in non-evacuation zones, hotel, motel, or a shelter. And I'll talk about that real fast in a couple of minutes. You don't have to go out of the area. Sometimes the best evacuation route is that 10-15 minute ride over to a friend or family's house that lives in a non-evacuation area. We say go tens of miles, not hundreds. There's different ways to look up your evacuation zone. You can simply go online to pinellescounty.org/know-your-zone. We have applications. We have an automated phone system. If you do have landlines, it's printed on the utility bills if you have Pinellas County Utilities, and on your property appraiser's records. We also have a mobile app called Ready Pinellas, and that's very handy because it has all of these features included in it, and you can go right down the row with Ready Pinellas and look up these different things. So that's the first thing. You got to figure out where you're living, because if you're living on the beaches, your evacuation A, you know you have to go. Easy. Not so easy if you're in the middle of evacuation zones. Even if you're in a non-evacuation zone and you're considering your plans, you need to consider the wind. Does your structure hold up? Was your house built after 1972? That's when the Miami-Dade requirements were put into place. Has there been mitigation to your house? Do you feel safe in it? Is it sturdy? Some of our buildings in Pinellas County, like my own house, is not sturdy. So in that case, you might say, you know what, we're not going to be safe here, even though we're a non-evacuation zone. So you have to take that into consideration. Your other risk is flooding. Flooding is not the same as storm surge. You can be in a non-evacuation zone and then you still get flooded. If you get flooded on a heavy rain in the afternoon, you can bet you're going to get flooded in a hurricane. More than 50% of flood-related deaths in the last couple of years have been from people in vehicles. When we say turn around, don't drown, that means if you go to an intersection, even with the afternoon storms, don't go through the water. Just don't go. If we're having a really big storm, even a tropical storm, and we ask you, please stay inside, please stay inside. People during Florence, over 30 people in North Carolina died because they're on the road. They have no business on the road. And so please just listen to that. That's like storm surge, totally preventable. Every single property in Pinellas County is actually in a flood zone. So look up your flood zone on the website, look up your evacuation zone, and then you can decide if that's a risk that you need to worry about. If you're in a mobile home park, easy. You have to evacuate no matter where you are in the county, because your home will not withstand the wind. Your home will not do well with that risk. So when evacuation is called, again, know your zone and listen carefully. This year, you may hear not just the zone, like evacuation zone C, which means A, B, and C. You might hear north of Ulmerton or on the west side of the county. We may get actually even more specific because we're trying not to evacuate when we really don't have to, because we're looking to have some more space in the shelters. Like I said, there's a beginning and an end time. And, you know, before you evacuate, make sure your neighbors are okay. You know, make sure they can get out if you're in an evacuation zone. We're all in this together. We have options. If we do evacuate, we can go out of town. If you do, please leave early. You can go to a hotel or motel, check that evacuation zone, ride by it, take a look at what it looks like sturdiness-wise. PSTA can help you with transportation. The bus fares are free during evacuations. And so you're even allowed to bring your pets on there. So check that out. And make sure you have everything in your kit, which you're going to hear a little bit more about that in a little bit. We're really pushing the host homes this year. If you can go to a friend or family that lives in a non-evacuation zone, that's so much better than having to go to a shelter. If you live in a non-evacuation zone and you know people that live in on the beach, in a mobile home park, invite them over, okay? Businesses, faith-based communities, these are the kind of facilities that might be able to shelter staff, parishioners, you know, the members. Think about that. And, you know, with COVID-19, you know, you always have to figure on losing power, cell service, water service, sewer service. But now we have COVID-19, right? So think about that when you're getting together with a host home family, you know, how you're going to handle that. Maybe one of the families takes one of the bedrooms. Maybe your family takes a whole other bedroom. So instead of the kids all going together and that sort of thing, which we might have done in the past, you know, decide, are you going to wear face masks when you're in a common area? Do you take turns in the kitchen? How are you going to sanitize the bathroom between using it? That sort of thing. Also, I love this graphic because it's one of the ideas that people can get when they're thinking about how they're going to deal with loss of power and water and all of that. This looks like the Gatorade jug that I used to bring the soccer games, just setting up a little hand washing station to get ready for, you know, when you don't have the running water, you know, and this is kind of a, you know, fun little thing to put together and can save you a lot. It's, you know, we want to be safe from hurricanes, but we have to think about being safe from COVID as well. Public shelters, we do have a plan for social distancing, and we're going to put family units together. They're going to be assigned an area, a space, and then we're going to have space in between. And this is a depiction of the plan that we are working with. Again, please bring face masks, face coverings, bring extra ones in case you're there a few days, and sanitizer if you have wipes available. We will have sanitizing stations. We'll keep things as clean as possible, but everybody needs to help out a little bit. We do have special needs shelters for those with minimal medical needs. Also social distancing there, probably more space than you would get in a general population shelter. And registration is requested, but we also have transportation assistance from fire departments. They'll come get you, but you do have to register for that. And that's pinellascounty.org/special needs. And I'm sure we can do a follow-up on this so that we can get those links to you. And we do have the pet-friendly shelters. You can bring your dog or cat and take care of them. They'll be in the other room. Also, you know, with the social distancing, not sure about the dogs being socially distanced, but they'd have to be in crates. So that will keep them apart, I guess. But again, we do have options to the host homes and the other options. Remember also, you know, if you're a business or you're a faith-based community, if you're able to figure out a way to shelter people, that also helps the other people in the county that really, really have nowhere to go, and they have to go to public shelters, because that just gives them more space, and that will help keep them healthy, especially in a large evacuation. We're going to open every shelter that we can and, you know, try our very best to keep people safe in all ways. Hurricane Preparedness Guide, we have that online. We have it in English, Spanish, and Vietnamese. And you can find all of this information on www.pinellascounty.org/emergency. Everything that I've talked about. And if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to give me a call, and I can walk through this with you and, you know, give you the resources that you need to make your plans. It is toward the end of July, so my suggestion is that take a look at that kit, see if you have plans, look up your zone, and just be ready so that when if something happens, you can just calmly go about your plan and you have it all figured out. So.
Okay, thank you so much, Mary. And as I said at the end of this presentation, you're going to have the opportunity to ask questions. You can start asking your questions on the Q&A button that you have, and they will be answered at the end. Now I'm going to leave with you from Duke Energy, Jared Sockby, and he's going to talk to you about safety. Welcome, Jared.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So let me start by sharing my screen as well. Okay. Here we go. Let me know when. Okay, perfect. You guys see that okay?
Yes.
Excellent. So thank you first to the Hispanic Outreach Center for putting all this together. Like she said, I'm Jari from Duke Energy, and we're going to talk about outage restoration and hurricane preparedness. Okay. So first, you know, we're going to look at what's the most common causes of outages, how Duke Energy restores power after an outage, how you can communicate with Duke Energy, what to do before, during, and after a storm. And we'll look at some frequently asked questions, and then we'll talk about the little hurricane kit we'll be providing. So let's start with outage restoration. So what are the most common causes of outages? Well, let's take a look. First, we have some vehicle accidents, cars striking poles and other facilities like transformers. Animals, of course, squirrels, birds, snakes. Of course, we always have equipment failure due to mechanical or some other reason. Inclement weather, minor, major storms, hurricanes, and of course, lightning strikes on our equipment. And of course, vegetation, trees, vines that grow into the power line. And of course, with a storm, a tree might fall into a power line and cut it out. Now, the way we work is all outages for Duke Energy in all 35 counties here in Florida go to our DCC, or Distribution Control Center. They basically manage every single outage in those 35 counties. And they're located in our St. Petersburg office. And you see a picture there what that looks like. The picture there on the right is our Energy Control Center. They basically see where the power's on, and they manage the distribution. Okay, so this is a graphic I really like. Can everyone see it okay?
Yes.
Excellent. So The way Duke Energy focuses on restoring power is in a specific sequence that enables powers to the greater number of customers as safely and as quickly as possible. And of course, restoration to public health and safety facilities to stabilize the community. A typical sequence, of course, first is safety. Locate any down power lines and make sure that no electricity is going to those down power lines. Then we restore the transmission lines, substation equipment, and main distribution lines. These serve a large number of customers at once, so the sooner we restore those, the more customers will be restored. Then we go into emergency services like hospitals, law enforcement, fire department, water treatment facilities. Those get our first priority after, there's transmission lines and substations if they've been damaged. And then we start going into the neighborhoods. Of course, if you're in a neighborhood that has a lot of homes, that'll go first before one specific home needs to be restored. Now, there's many ways to communicate with Duke Energy. And many of our customers report outages and receive updates without ever speaking to a real person. But of course, we have representative staff 24/7 during storms or anytime to report outages here in Florida and through our entire territory. If you go on our website, our outage maps are refreshed every 15 minutes. So usually you can find it if someone's already reported an outage in your area by looking at that map. And of course, we have social media representatives staff during an event to report any social traffic. So sometimes people can communicate with us via Facebook or Instagram or some other ways if they cannot, for example, do it via text for some other reason. Now, hurricane preparation. So before the storm, what does Duke Energy do? We monitor weather and make sure that the generation of electricity is manned and able to cope. We model outage projections based on, of course, the storm modeling, establishing a resource plan, assembling additional non-Duke resources, like the Red Cross and Pinellas County, making sure that our inventory supplies are up to date, working with state and local officials, providing preparedness information like we're doing now, establishing auxiliary staffing. So make sure that everyone in the company has a role. Even if, for example, one of my roles, if there's a storm, I help take phone calls when people call in. So everyone in the company does something for the storm. Now, what are we asking customers to do? Or what should customers do is, make sure you have an emergency kit, confirm alternative living arrangements. So if you need to evacuate, like they said before, make sure you make those arrangements beforehand. Make sure that all your electronics are charged. If you have a generator, make sure you know how to use it and how to use it safely. Text out to 57801 so you can sign up for outage alerts via text. Make sure you have a plan, and if you visit ready.gov, there's a lot of information there as well. Now, during the storm, well, we keep monitoring condition and pausing work when it's unsafe. So if winds, for example, go above, I think it's 35 miles per hour, we cannot use bucket trucks, it's unsafe. So we have to wait until the winds dial down to actually go out there and start restoring. Adjusting resource plans to match, the storm's impact. Finalizing plans, we have daily meetings about storm, what's going on, what needs to be done. And of course, starting getting the initial damage assessment. So it's very important for our customers to let us know when there's an outage. What do customers need to do? Seek shelter, stay in a well-constructed building, disconnect and turn off all non-essential electrical equipment, because let's say you lose power and then the power comes back. If everything goes on at once, you're using too much electricity and that might cause other problems. Do not open freezers, refrigerators more than necessary. Stay away from windows and doors when there's a lot of wind. If a power line falls on your car, stay inside. Now, if you must exit, make sure you jump way clear, and you never touch the car and the ground at the same time, because then you're grounding yourself, and that's when someone can get electrocuted. Now, after the storm, well, first what we do is we start assessing the damage and start restoring power. Like we mentioned before, if there's down power lines, make sure there's no power going to them. We start mobilizing resources, sending the crew where it needs to go, and start providing updates to our customers and communities. What we ask of our customers, again, if there's an outage, report. Text out to 57801, same place as before. You can go online to duqueenenergy.com outages, or you can call us at 1-800-700-8744. Make sure you engage your emergency plan. If you have the generator, make sure that's safely operated, never do it indoors. Try again to open those freezers or refrigerators as least as possible. The more you open, the less time your food will last. Avoid any debris from the storm, avoid down power lines, and make sure that your meter hasn't have any damage or infrastructure in the house. Very important, because if we restore power to your area and there's some damage to your meter, you will not have any power. Okay, so these are some of the most frequently asked questions that we get. So we'll go through them really quickly. If my power is out, that do we already know? Well, not always. If your business or home is without power, please make sure to let us know. Your neighbors might have contacted us, but sometimes your neighbor across the street is on a different line than you are, and we don't know that. If you call multiple times, will my power be restored quicker? Not really. We got to do it in a certain order, but make sure you follow up, but do let us know. Now, if you report a downline, will crews show up immediately? There's hundreds, sometimes thousands of down power lines, so we cannot guarantee how fast we're gonna get there. So the safest thing is stay away from any down power lines. Now, if you have a medical condition, is your power restored first? We try, but we cannot guarantee that. That's why we have the certain order. These hospitals, everything that is safety related, police stations, fire departments, those get done first. Now, we get a lot of this question, but if my power is out, do I still get charged for usage? No, your power is out, you're not using electricity, we're not charging you. Now, like what was mentioned before, sometimes you see that your whole neighborhood is out, but across the street, they have power and you don't. Sometimes it's because you're in a different circuit, and so one got fixed before the other one, or maybe a bigger problem on one versus the other one. Now, what about if you're in underground lines? Have those been affected? Yes, they can be affected. Sometimes if there's flood, they'll get, we cannot turn on the power until the flood is recessed. We can't go to work with electricity and water. And of course, sometimes the problem is not in our area, is further down where the lines do go above ground, and the problem might be 1 or 2 miles away from you. And this goes to our last point. If I don't see any crews working in your area, why is that? Well, sometimes the problem is, 2, 3, 4, even 10 miles away from you, and we might be there. These are some additional resources that we have. If you go to our website, the Duke Energy Storm Center has a lot of good information, even more in detail than what I'm talking about. Also, our app has a lot of updates. And of course, ready.gov, the government website. Now, as you might have heard, we're donating 500 storm kits. And this basically is a bag with a blanket, flashlight, a whistle, first aid information, and storm information to be distributed. And that's all I have for now.
Okay, thank you so much, Jared. And yes, we have those kits here at the Hispanic Outreach Center, and we're going to distribute them on Wednesdays. So as of next Wednesday from 1 to 3, if you would like to have one of these kits, you can come to the Hispanic Outreach Center, 612 Franklin Street in Clearwater, right behind the Clearwater Police Department. And we can provide one of those for you. Now we have with us Ella Lendinger from Red Cross, who is going to give us also important tips about how to stay safe and what to do to be prepared for a hurricane with COVID. Welcome, Ella.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting us to join you. I hope all of you are familiar with the Red Cross. My name again is Ella Landegger, and I'm a Red Cross volunteer, and I'm working today with Jose Bueno, who's behind the scenes controlling our video and our PowerPoint presentation. I hope you do know the Red Cross. It is probably best known for responding to disasters. The American Red Cross also provides medical first aid, supports our military families, provides 40% of the nation's blood. We've also been asked to work and coordinate the efforts with the convalescent blood plasma, so it's very important to donate if you can during this time. We reconnect families and we work internationally. In addition to that, we also respond to a home fire every 8 minutes across this country, and we're not even called to every home fire. Today, we are going to talk about the basics to be Red Cross ready. Next slide, please, Jose. Which hazards do we face? Odds are that disaster will strike. The fact is, it will happen. They happen often, they happen with little or no warning, they happen anywhere and at any time. Every year, communities across the United States and around the world face natural hazards. Volcanoes, earthquakes, wildfires, tornadoes, hurricanes, typhoons, tsunamis, landslides, mudslides, infestations, droughts, floods, and even winter storms, luckily not in Florida. The light green that you can see here on the map, and especially in Pinellas, we face hurricanes and floods, and there's also, with thunderstorms, there's also lightning. And all of these have a huge impact on individuals and the community. And currently, we are facing a new challenge and a new disaster, being coronavirus or COVID-19. The Red Cross has implemented a policy that we call the CDC rule: cover, distance, and clean. In all of our operations, we have changed how we do everything. We're still looking after people and caring for humanity in their times of need. However, all volunteers cover, number one, cover. All volunteers and staff are required to wear a mask. We also ask clients to wear masks. Distance. We have put in place rules to distance as best as possible. In other parts of the country, we have had non-aggregate shelters where people have been housed in hotels and in more individual spaces whenever possible. As we were discussing and we saw earlier in the presentation, when we face hurricane shelters and evacuations, we've been working with the authorities to increase the square footage per person or for the families within the shelters. Cover, distance, clean, CDC. In addition to regular hand washing and cleaning of surfaces, we've implemented standards to reduce transmission and interaction. Meals are no longer going to be served cafeteria style, and we're also trying to structure them so that they're in a more staggered timing so that not everyone congregates at one time. So what can you do to be Red Cross ready? Let's look at the next slide. It is really up to you to be ready. In any of the disasters that we talk about, a lot of people assume someone else will be there to help. However, the resources aren't there to support everyone immediately. It's up to you to be ready. First responders, disaster organizations, governmental agencies, Duke, and emergency rooms do their best. But these groups are usually staffed and prepared for normal day-to-day operations, and resources may be limited and very stretched during a disaster. The truth is, you might have to depend on yourself first. Why? Well, roads might be impassable, utilities may be unavailable, hospitals and first responders can be overwhelmed, banks, grocery stores, gas stations, pharmacies, schools, and workplaces may be closed for days. You may also need to help others, such as members of your household, neighborhood, or those who have functional or access needs. Do not count on receiving help right away. Next slide. All of us can and should be prepared to help ourselves and our household. Will the preparation be perfect? No. Will the preparation make things quick, easy, or painless? Not always. But planning and preparation will help you to be safe and recover quickly. If you prepare ahead of time, it helps you. It helps you to stay safe by taking protective action. It helps you to adapt better to challenges, and it helps you to be more resilient and recover more quickly after the event or the disaster has happened. Next slide. What does it take to be Red Cross ready? To be Red Cross ready, you need to do 3 things. Get a kit, make a plan, and be informed. As we said, this allows you to respond quickly to help yourself, your household, and your community. 1, get a kit. Get a kit now. If you don't have one, please put one together. Duke is going to be doing a wonderful job with Kickstart in giving the basics of what you might need in your plan. When the disaster strikes your community, you might not have any access to water, food, electricity, a medical facility, or even a drugstore. So put together the essential supplies to put in your family's survival kit. Make a plan. Create and plan and practice an emergency plan so that your household will know what to do in emergencies. And be informed. Understand which disasters are likely to occur in your area and what important information you must know to stay safe. As mentioned earlier, you should know your zones. That is really important. Let's look at each of these in more detail. Next slide, let's talk about get a kit. Prepare a disaster kit for your household. It's an important step to keep everyone safe and healthy during a disaster. Consider assembling basically 2 kinds of kits, a go bag, a mobile version in case you need to evacuate quickly. It could be lightweight. It could be a backpack, a pillowcase, a sports bag. And the other kit might be a bit more extensive, and they both should have at least 3 days worth of supplies. And if you're able, in the bigger kit, gather enough supplies to last for 2 weeks. This could be in a big plastic bin or a suitcase or in a trunk. It's also good to keep a copy of your documents and other things that you would need in that kit at the last minute and put that in your kit so you can look at the kit and say, oh, here's what's on my list. And that way you'll remember exactly what you need to do. Also, remember, it's really important to have your medications ready at all times if you need to evacuate, as well as to have a copy of your prescriptions. Based on the needs of the members of your household, you can make one kit for the entire household or separate kits for each member of your family or your household. If you have school children, they can make a kit for themselves too. Please look into the Red Cross Pillowcase Project. We offer a free online session for schools, youth groups, camps, etc., to help children be more prepared for emergencies. For example, during the Pillowcase Project, we teach a coping skill to teach children how to be calmer if things are going crazy all around them. We also ask them to put their hands on their heads if something is important to have, or on their hearts if it's nice to have. So for example, if I showed them, and I'm not sure if you can see me, but I'm holding up a toothbrush and a roll of toilet paper and a bottle of water. With these, we would hope they would put their hands on their head. On the other hand, if we hold up a stuffed animal, a deck of cards, or a ball, we hope they would put their hands on their hearts. I must say, every time we do this exercise, at least one of the children puts their hand on their head for the ball because they think this is a necessity. Next slide, please. Things to have in your survival kit. To build your kit, think about what you use on a daily basis and what you use weekly as well. Think, what if these resources were limited and not available? Start with the basics. Food, water, clean air, and life-sustaining items that you need to maintain health, safety, and independence. At a minimum, you should have the basic supplies. a gallon of water per person per day. Non-perishable food, easy to prepare items, a spoon and a can opener. Flashlights with extra batteries. A battery operated or hand crank radio. We recommend a NOAA weather radio if possible. I have a radio here. These are available online as well as through the Red Cross site and in some of the stores, where it's also got a crank, which allows you to also charge up a cell phone on the backside. We recommend that you have medications, as mentioned, at least a 7-day supply, and medical items that you need. Also a family first aid kit, face masks, several of those. A multi-purpose tool. Copies of your personal documents, photocopies, and electronic versions are really good to have with your medical information, proof of address, birth certificates, and your insurance policies. Make sure you have your cell phone with a charger. Also have your family and emergency contact information on paper as well as on your phone. Make sure you have extra cash, emergency blanket, and a map of the area. Don't feel overwhelmed by this list. Preparedness is a process. It takes a little time. Consider building your kit one step at a time. Focus on adding a few items every day or each week until your kit is complete. You can also find a suggested list at redcross.org. Consider the needs of all family members and add supplies to your kit. Customize the kit based on specific needs of your household. Medical supplies, for example, hearing aids, have extra batteries. Glasses have copies of your prescriptions. You might need sanitation and personal hygiene items. Baby supplies such as baby bottles and diapers and baby food. Also have entertainment, books, games, and toys for children and yourself. Pet supplies, an extra collar, leash, ID, and food, and carrier and bowl for your pets. Two-way radios are nice to have as well. An extra set of car keys and house keys is also wonderful to have because you might need to give someone else access to go and check on your home or find whether your car is there or not. Current digital photographs of loved ones, and make sure that you update the photographs of your children, especially every 6 months because they seem to grow like weeds. Additional supplies to have at home or in your survival kit depend on what else you need. We mentioned a whistle, matches, duct tape, scissors, N95 or surgical masks, liquid bleach, rain gear, extra clothing, hat and sturdy shoes, towels, blankets, or sleeping bags, work gloves, plastic sheets, toilet paper, as we mentioned, sunscreen or insect repellent, and other tools or supplies that would be needed to secure your home. Again, redcross.org, you can find a copy of a list. And no matter what's in your list, it's important that everything works when the disaster strikes. Check the expiration date on your food, medicine, and batteries at least twice a year. Replace anything that has expired or is near its expiration. So that's all to do with get a kit. Now we're going to talk about number 2, make a plan. It should include key details. Identify the steps that you will need to take to respond to specific disasters. For home fires, you should do a home fire drill. Hurricanes and tornadoes require a different kind of plan and will vary if you are staying at home or if you need to evacuate. For each disaster, who in your household will do what, where you go, and how you will communicate with each other. For example, for a house fire, identify 2 ways out from every room in your home and have a meeting place out front so you can let the firefighters know if everyone is present and accounted for. For a hurricane and tornado, if you're in a mobile or manufactured home, you have to leave. Have an evacuation plan from your neighborhood and from your town, and have an agreed upon meeting place depending on how big the disaster is and how far you might need to move away from your home. Plan what to do in case you are separated during a disaster. Again, have places to meet outside of your home and outside of your neighborhood in case you can't go home or have been asked to evacuate. Don't forget to consider transportation challenges that might be encountered by individuals who use mobility assistive equipment or those who don't have access to a vehicle. An important part of your disaster plan is how you will communicate, especially if you and members of your household are not together when that disaster hits. Make sure each member of your household has contact details for everyone and that they keep that information with them at all times. Determine now, ahead of time, what important records you will need and where the originals should be stored, whether it's in a safe deposit box or in a fireproof box. Remember, it's a good idea to have a copy of those in your kit in a waterproof bag or container. If you are without power for an extended period of time or have to evacuate, it will be very important to have a place to stay. So please do plan on that, as has been mentioned during these sessions. And if they encourage you to shelter in place, ensure that all household members are aware of any actions they must take and where they should be in their home. Also, don't forget to think what you will do with your pets. Most American Red Cross shelters cannot accept pets because of health and safety concerns and other considerations. However, service animals are allowed in Red Cross shelters. Contact the local emergency management agency for a list of the pet-friendly shelters. And once you have your emergency plan and your fire drill plan in place, practice. And then practice it and practice it some more. Review plans with everyone in your household. If anyone has a personal support network, requires assistance, or you have regular babysitters, review plan with them as well. Make sure everyone knows what you will be doing and what else you might need to do during a disaster. Next slide, please. Part 3. It's important that you are informed. Learn how you will get information if a disaster occurs and what resources are available in your community. We talked a little bit about being informed and how important it is to know what hazards you should prepare for. But there's more to it. It's an ongoing process. Some of the things that you should do. Know your community, how it warns of a coming disaster. Some communities have outdoor sirens. Others depend on media and smartphones to alert residents of severe weather or dangerous events. Use a NOAA weather radio or listen to a local station on a battery-powered radio or TV for updated information. This allows you to access to important information even if the power is out by having the battery-operated radio. You may also want to consider having a list of the local stations in your disaster kit so you know exactly which is the station that covers your area. Understand the difference between a watch and a warning and how to respond to each. A watch means there's a potential for a specific type of weather event or hazard. Be alert, pull out your kit, complete the preparations, monitor the weather and local emergency hazards, and be sure to take immediate action if conditions worsen. A warning means that a specific type of weather is imminent or it's already occurring. You should take immediate action to protect yourself when a warning is issued. So for example, a tornado warning means they're in your area. Get in a safe place in your house away from the windows. Learn about an area if you are traveling anywhere so that you know what disasters are in that area. What we also recommend is that you download the Red Cross Emergency app. It lets you monitor 35 different severe weather and emergency alerts. It's a good idea to know your neighbors. They can be great resources of community information, or you might need to help them, and that would be a good thing too. Please remember, if you have any questions, put your questions in the chat line. Next slide, please. We talked a lot about a lot of information, and I want to make sure that you don't forget that these are the tools you have to help yourself, your loved ones, and for your community to prepare for disasters. Download the Red Cross Emergency and the First Aid apps to your mobile device. You can add Monster Guard for your children. It's a fun game for them to learn to play, and you can play it with children, grandchildren. These provide you with vital information in the event of a disaster. They're free, they're on the app stores, and I believe they're also in Spanish as well as in English. Also, you can register on the Safe and Well website with Red Cross, so safeandwell.org. Just like your plan, practice using the Safe and Well website. Once you're registered, it's very easy then to update your Facebook and Twitter feeds without using up too much bandwidth that would be needed and heavily stressed during times of disaster. Create and copy contact cards and make sure everyone in your household can reach someone if disaster strikes. Remember, you can't count on technology alone. Phones break, they lose their charge, cell phone coverage goes out, and phone lines become overwhelmed. Be sure you think about how you will communicate if these things become unavailable. Create and copy the contact cards and make sure everyone in your household has them and knows how to reach the others if disaster strikes. Put them in your purse, your wallet, and your child's backpack. We hope you will prepare for these types of disasters that can happen in our area. To be fully prepared, make sure to create and practice your disaster plan, build your kits, and become informed about the community. Next slide, please. So again, to be Red Cross ready, we hope that you will get a kit, make a plan, be informed. In particular, you can look at redcross.org/prepareflorida to find out more local information. Next slide, please. And final. Thank you very much for joining us today. If you'd like any further information, you can certainly contact the Red Cross. We have offices in St. Pete as well as Tampa, and redcross.org/prepareflorida. Thank you very much for inviting us to join you today.
Thank you very much, Ella, for that important information and very good tips. And as you said, it's important to go to the website and get that list and get the kits ready.